All right, so now let's talk a little bit about the emotional and physical health benefits associated with remote work. So, yeah, right off the bat, I mean, anybody that has any type of like a chronic disability or illness that maybe goes through cycles where sometimes it's not as bad as others, or even like anybody that's a parent or a guardian or a caretaker of somebody else. I mean, having the ability to have at least part-time remote work is really a godsend for people in those situations.
When you think of how many people have something that they're dealing with that's invisible, worked for a while in special education, we talk about different challenges, things like that. You're like, it was almost easier for people to accept if they could see it. And so if you think about, I was thinking some of those conditions, like where you just have like generalized pain at sometimes where you're like it's not all day every day, but sometimes you'll have little flare-ups. Remote work has been huge for to serve that population, or people who can be in office but need to be remote part of the time or have a flexible work environment. And I'm thinking of parents with children to where that is quite helpful. Just having that flexible work to where it might not be your kids, but maybe it's, you have a close friend that it doesn't have family locally that you need to help. Things like that, I think, are huge.
I know this probably doesn't come across this way when you look at us, but we're on the older side of things. And so that means we have older friends and older family members too that might have something that happens where, we have to step in and, if thankfully I have a younger brother that lives near my mom. My mom doesn't live in the same state as I do. So, like, if she had an issue, thankfully he's able to step in and help that. Or, if it was a long-term serious situation, it might be a situation where I need to go and help him, because maybe it's like, if it's a long-term situation, it wouldn't be fair to him to have to take the whole thing on, right? So, because of the nature of my work here with IDOI Technologies, I'd be able to go there, help support her and him, and continue to work. And I think even like, even if you don't have a chronic thing, like most of us, at some point or another, you're going to have maybe it's just a long-term sickness. Like, a lot of people that had COVID, I mean, it wasn't a quick, for a lot of people, it wasn't a quick recovery. They might not have had to be hospitalized, but it was, low energy, or they had other issues that kind of continued where it would be like, well, I can't go back to work full time, but I could still work if I'm allowed to work remotely, I could still do some work. And, there's a lot of situations where, the company and the person are like, we really want you to continue to work if you're capable. And the person's like, yeah, I want to be able to continue to work too. And so being able to have remote work is a benefit there, can definitely help in those situations. Like, if you have a knee replacement surgery or something like that, where it's temporary, but a lengthy it could be a lengthy time before you can actually get yourself to and from the office on your own.
I was thinking about that in the recovery from surgery or from illness. I think some of the, where you incentivize the attendance. I think we chatted about some perfect attendance awards and things like that, and how if you value that, then you'll like drag yourself to class or to work. Because I can remember one of my years of teaching, they had an attendance bonus for teachers. So if you were there 100% of the time, you got, you know, it was a pretty substantial one. I mean, I can remember it was however much it was. I did go to work sick. I'm just going to tell you. So just, maybe operating less than 50%, but the incentive was not on the health and wellness of the employees. It was to just have employees there.
Yeah, I can remember when my daughter was in high school. I think part of and they incentivized them to not miss any days, and part of the incentive for them was like related to their finals. And so it was like, if you had a certain grade point average in the class, and then also if you didn't miss, you could only miss 2 days or something like that. And I can remember her being really sick and like being like, I'm not messing that up. I'm going it, and it's like you can barely even like walk. You're so sick. And it's yeah, and and so yeah. I mean, I get why they're doing that. And if you have an employee that never misses a day, you do want to honor that to them. But yeah, it's like you also don't want people dragging themselves in there and getting everybody else sick. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the happy medium is there, but yeah, it could end up getting people doing the wrong things.
As we read different research that had been done, the most common benefits reduce stress almost 60%, so 57%. So that's a very large percentage. Reduced absences, 56%. And I'm curious about that, if that actually is because you can if it's a small amount you need to go and do something, then you can still basically you're working majority of the day, but you're just taking, as opposed to if you were in office and you might have to take a whole day off. So maybe that contributes to that. And then just the overall improved morale. I think that anytime workers can have a little bit of autonomy within their day, I think that that really is just psychologically very skews positive. And actually, fewer sick days. I think that's just, you're not around as many sick people, like you said, if people aren't dragging themselves to the office sick. And then if you're working from home, now, if you've got little kids, you're gonna catch something coming around there.
But yeah, and I think the reduced absences is like instead of having to take the day off, if I can work, I might not be feeling great, but I can do my work, but do I want to drive in, get dressed, go into the office? Where if that is the requirement, if I can work from home today, I can still do it.
It's almost like you could have the capacity to do your job, but like if the commute is stressful and long, you're like, I don't have the energy to do all of those. But if I don't have that, get a little more sleep, get a little topped off, I can still do, the tasks that I need to get done today.
Or even the one you brought up earlier, which is one, thankfully doesn't happen a lot to people, so it's not usually at top of mind. But, if you get into a car accident, even one that's not, you get sideswiped or something, and then you got to deal with all that, right? And so sometimes it's like, okay, well, I got to figure out this car thing. I'm waiting to hear from the insurance company. They have to come determine if they're going to total my car or what.
Mhm.
And it's like if I can't work remotely during that time, I'm just gonna have to take those days off. In our next conversation, we'll be focusing on the company benefits, and it's like it is a benefit to the company if your employees can continue to work and not everything that happens to them is like, okay, well now how are we going to handle this? This person can't work for the next 2 days, or his mother's sick and he has to go travel to Pennsylvania for 3 weeks. How are we going to handle this? Like he's just going to take time off. So yeah, again, it's a benefit that works both ways, in my opinion. All right, so I think that wraps us up on the emotional and physical health aspects. And next, we go into the advantage that I feel like is right up there with the no commute. We'll be talking about flexibility.